It's been 10 long years since Sakura Wars, So Long My Love came out in the West. 15 years if you played the original Japanese PS2 release. This entry of Sakura Wars is a soft reboot for the franchise, allowing new players to have a good time. To not alienate returning players, they'll have a couple of returning characters to look forward to, and of course the callbacks that go with them. Here you'll be playing as Seijiro Kamiyama, a Navy captain who's been reassigned and helping out the disgraced Imperial Combat Review Flower Division. He's a pretty chill and outgoing guy, just ready to help out anyone whenever possible. While Seijiro has a very defined personality and relationship with the characters around him, you can influence that a bit more using the game's lip system. This provides you timed choices on what to say and even what tone to say it in. With enough trust, you can get trust events, which help build up even more trust into different characters. Now, calling the Flower Division a disgrace sounds pretty bad, and well, the review is in bad shape. You see, outside of being bad in combat, their home base is a theater which isn't doing all that well. They can't put on a decent show to save their lives. Things are so bad that a neighboring unit is picking up their slack. The scenario is handled by Jiro Ishii, which is who wrote and directed 428 Shibuya Scramble, one of my favorite story-based games, and a game I gave very high praise to in my review. A link to that review will be at the end of this video. The script itself is written by Takaki Suzuki, who is definitely a military buff and has provided research for anime like Girls und Panzer and Gate. All of that is basically to say that the story is great and easily one of my favorite parts of the game. The game is filled to the brim with anime tropes. The game itself leans pretty heavily into the harem aspect, but when it's one guy and just about everyone else is a girl, that's to be expected. While some parts of the story are a little too dramatic for my taste at times, that honestly didn't impede on my enjoyment at all. Each chapter is split into two camps. One side is essentially a slice of life harem rom-com, and the other is when it's time to fight the demons. During your downtime, you'll have a lot on your plate. After all, you're taking care of not just the girls, but the theater as well. So you'll have missions from your superior and side events from the theater, and of course, whatever drama decides to arise in the chapter. This is the time where 99% of your trust will be increasing, and after a while, the game will run an intermission allowing you to see how you're progressing with the girls. You'll also be able to manually save during these intermissions if you can't get to day 1 patch. After a while, the time for play will be over and the time for demon slaying will begin. These action stages are pretty standard. You go through a stage and at the end of it there's a boss. You have a light, heavy, and special attack. With special attacks you have to wait until the gauge is full. The only issue I have with this is that the combos are very simplistic and the level design is incredibly straightforward. When it comes to art, famous manga artist Tite Kubo is responsible for the character designs. Now, my reviewer may be a little biased because back during its run, he was probably one of the biggest Bleach shills out there according to him. But he also says his character artwork continues to be some of the best there is. On the technical side, everything looks and runs great. As I mentioned earlier, Kubo's character design looks great, and Mika Akitaka's mechs look good as well. The game runs at a nice 60 frames per second, and I didn't experience many, if at all, drops in frame rate during my game time whatsoever. The music is absolutely fantastic, although at this point I just sound like I can't help but gush over this game. But if there is something negative to be said, and believe me, I know this is a weird nitpick, but a lot of the time the music track mixing is kinda bad. I mean, the dialogue in a scene can go from serious to comedic and back to serious. In a way, that feels natural, but the timing of the music, or lack of fading in and out of one track to another, doesn't help and only hurts the scene because of how noticeable it is. When it all comes down to it, this is probably one of SEGA's best games released this generation. Between using some of the best writers and artists in the business, using direction techniques brought by Yakuza, and using their own engine, this game is truly a accumulation of SEGA's progress this generation outside of Yakuza. While there are some issues if you can't get access to the day 1 patch, like the lock-on to enemies, or the ability to manually save at any time, but if you can get it, which should be 99.9% of you, my point stands that this game is absolutely incredible. And that does it for our review of Sakura Wars. If you have any comments or questions about the game or the review, by all means leave them down in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you guys on this. Also, let us know if you plan on picking up this game. We truly believe Sakura Wars is a game you do not want to be sleeping on. Also, if you're new to my channel, finding it for the first time through this review, hey, be sure to subscribe for future reviews, commentaries, let's plays, and more. And if you really love what I do here, consider becoming a YouTube member or a patron on Patreon, like these wonderful people here on screen. Links will be provided down in the description below. And as always, everyone, thanks for watching.